So far, we've had a pretty boring week in the stock market, but all of that is about to change come tomorrow morning. Tomorrow will be game changing for the market because we get another reading on the sky high inflation that we're seeing, and that report will impact everything from how the Feds react to just overall market sentiment. It's going to be very important. In this video, we're going to talk about exactly what you need to know heading into tomorrow and other important things to be aware of that we're seeing in the market right now. Looking at the stock market today, Tom, we saw it drop by 0.88%, which is a little bit lower than the average that we've been seeing. In the bottom right, we can see that the average drops lately have been around minus 0.94%. So again, a pretty boring day.
Yeah, it definitely was, Mike. And early on, the market was actually up and just really flat. We honestly saw that sell off towards the end of the day, as a lot of traders might have expected, especially with that inflation data coming out tomorrow. That's really going to be the main focus of the market, Mike, is that inflation data. We can see that even some volatility stocks like UVXY started really picking up there at the end of the day. So definitely be prepared for more volatility in the morning. This data is going to come out 1 hour before the market opens. We can see right here in Trading Economics, it's going to be 8:30 a.m. Eastern time. We're going to see the inflation rate as well as the core inflation rate. We can see that there's actually an estimate on the regular inflation rate of 8.8% year over year. The core inflation is actually expected to slow down a little bit. So going from 6% in May down to 5.7% here with the expectation. So pretty interesting to see that, Mike, with the core inflation. But, Warren Buffett said in his own words, he said, I don't know what's more core in the market rather than food and gasoline. So pretty big there. I hope that, you guys take the core inflation with a little bit of a grain of salt, because as we know, food and gasoline really impact consumers in a big way.
Exactly. So, we could see that just economists are expecting another high inflation reading. So depending on what we see tomorrow, that can have a giant impact on just everything. So it's going to be very important. Guys, I cannot stress enough, just pay attention to just CNBC or any other news source and just the market overall 1 hour before market open tomorrow, because these events almost always bring in a ton of volatility, which isn't necessarily a bad thing because it normally just provides a lot of big movement and opportunity, especially for trading in the short term. So buckle your seatbelts and be prepared for volatility tomorrow morning, especially in pre-market.
Yeah, definitely. And we even saw big movement today, Mike. I mean, even towards the end of day, a lot of volatility came in. So definitely be prepared for that tomorrow. A lot of stocks were mixed across the board today. Some were green, some were red. I noticed the airline sector did very, very well, like American Airlines. But then we saw stocks, actually like crude oil stocks, for example, like Exxon and Mobil, fall off today. Crude oil itself was down 8%, which is big. Even Microsoft, Mike, was down 4%. They had some pretty bad news of layoffs, which we'll get into in a little bit. But yeah, even Warren Buffett's oil stock, Oxy, was down like 3.6%. So we saw a lot of stocks go down today, unfortunately. Like I did say, though, some were green. I noticed some of those hotel stocks like MGM were okay, as well as like Twitter was actually ended up in the green, believe it or not. So we did see some stocks rise, but nonetheless, very mixed day. Like you said, Mike, pretty boring week overall heading up into this event.
So you mentioned Microsoft and layoffs. What's going on there?
Yeah, this is actually pretty big. So they're going to be having some layoffs. Now, keep in mind, guys, it says right here it's going to be less than 1% of their total headcount. I know we talked yesterday about Rivian targeting layoffs about 5% of their staff. So today, to see Microsoft come in less than 1% is pretty good. I guess that's pretty good numbers there. I know Elon even talked about maybe cutting like 10% of Tesla's workforce. So to see them only come in with less than 1% is good. But nonetheless, Mike, that stock really fell off today. Like, look at Microsoft stock throughout the day. It continued down in the early morning and at the end of day when the SPY fell, having a pretty much a big low of day, Mike, all the way down around 4.1%. And for Microsoft, we can see their average percentage fall is only negative 1.3%. So that's almost like 4 times the value there.
Exactly. So definitely a big day for Microsoft. Tom, looking at the market overall and just the SPY, what are the most important levels that you're seeing heading into the inflation report tomorrow?
Yeah, so the SPY has been really consolidating down here for the past couple weeks, Mike. We can see even at the beginning of July, we were down here like right around this support that we hit at the end of day here, right around like 379. So I'm going to really keep my eyes on 379. That's been a pretty big level over the past couple of weeks. You can see if you follow my cursor left and right here, you can see that dotted line touches quite a bit of resistance levels there. So definitely be aware of that 379 support tomorrow. That's going to be a big level. If we end up breaking below that, I think we could end up seeing a pretty big sell-off, Mike, potentially down to like 375, depending on how big the move is in pre-market. Just keep in mind, though, that inflation data is going to be the main thing to look at when you look at the market tomorrow. We can always look at support and resistance and maybe try to play some good breaks. But as we know, this news is really going to dictate that movement.
Alrighty. So, Tom, I know there's also a couple companies reporting earnings this week. We're kind of just starting off that earnings season again. I know Pepsi reported today. So, what do we have in terms of earnings for the rest of this week, and what's going on with Pepsi?
Yeah, so Pepsi reported their earnings, and as we know, all these companies lately have been talking about their forecasts and pretty much trying to guide how they're going to be doing with the high inflationary pressure over the next year or so. And as we can see here, Pepsi actually raised their revenue forecast, which is great because they're actually deploying price hikes right now in smaller sizes to fight costs. Now, they did say that they saw a larger hit from the Russia and Ukraine war related to cost, Mike. But overall, though, it seems like that the price hikes right now are really helping Pepsi out. And it seems like that overall, they're just doing amazing. We can see they beat on their EPS. Their revenue was even up. It did say, though, that their margins shrank a little bit, Mike. But as we know, though, they're making more money right now than they were. It might be a smaller margin percentage, but it's a higher dollar amount. So at least they're doing well on that revenue. I'm glad to see that they're kind of weathering the storm. And this is really good news because, if Pepsi is able to do well right now and they're able to, manage their costs correctly, this goes to show that maybe some of these other food companies might be able to do this, like Kraft, maybe Coca-Cola, and maybe some others.
Exactly. So basically, right now, everyone's kind of worrying about this earnings season because if it comes in bad and companies across the board report lower earnings than everyone was expected, not only can that make stocks fall more because of the negative sentiment and like just the bad news, but it also just lowers, or I guess technically it increases the S&P 500's PE ratio, which would make stocks fall down. So this earnings season will be crucial. So keep that in mind. And what else is on the schedule in terms of earnings this week?
Yeah, so for this week, tomorrow before open, we're going to have Delta Airlines, and this is going to be pretty big, guys. These airlines were exploding today. Delta itself was up 6%. American Airlines was up 9.98%, almost 10% there. Pretty much it was at 10% at one point in the day, but nonetheless, those airlines are going to be huge. They're going to give a big insight into bookings and travel and everything like that. So be on the lookout for that. But then Thursday and Friday, Mike, are going to be even bigger with JP Morgan reporting along with Morgan Stanley. Then Friday, we have Citigroup, Wells Fargo, US Bank, even BlackRock. So many big financial institutions are reporting at the end of the week. And, with rates and stuff going up, I can't wait to see what they're talking about.
Yep. Alrighty. Well, let's get right into the momentum plays for tomorrow. With the first one, we have DAL to the upside.
Yeah, Delta, like we talked about, those earnings will come out in the morning, and go ahead and make them break above 31.55.
All right, and with the next one, we have Square also to the upside.
Yeah, Square, go ahead and make Square break above 66.
All right, and then with the last one, we have Amazon, but to the downside.
Yeah, Amazon here, pretty big one. Yeah, I'm surprised to see them down 2% today, but go ahead and make them break below 108.30.
All right, so we're watching Amazon for a potential day trade to the downside tomorrow, only if it breaks below the level Tom listed. And then we are watching Square and Delta for potential day trades to the upside tomorrow, only if they break above the level Tom listed. Before we move on, I want to give a giant shout out to our member of the day, Outlaw Star. You are extremely consistent and supportive on YouTube, so Tom and I can't thank you enough. Huge shout out to Outlaw Star. Thank you so much for all of the support. But Tom, looking at the heat map today, it was a pretty tough day. A lot of influential stocks like Microsoft, Google, and Amazon fell a decent amount, and other stocks didn't rise enough to, make the market really go up. Tomorrow is going to be a very important day with that inflation data release, and volatility is definitely on the way.
Yeah, it definitely is, Mike. Like you said, crazy day today overall. A lot of stocks ended up falling off, especially at the end of day. Poor Microsoft with that layoff news. I can't believe they were down 4%, Mike. I mean, that was a pretty bad drop. I know they had layoffs, but as we know, a lot of companies have had those lately, and some of them haven't fallen down that much. So, yeah, it sucks to see with Microsoft. Apple was green, though, which is good. But like you said, not enough to offset it. Definitely, we're going to see some volatility. Looking at the SPY, Mike, like we talked about, big support today down there around 379. Definitely watch that tomorrow in pre-market, guys. It's going to be a pretty big thing. And of course, keep your eyes on those airlines. I think Delta is going to be very important to watch. We even saw Boeing, Mike, pop up today 7.4%. It's been a while since we've seen Boeing have a nice green run like this.
Yep, you know it. Guys, if you like the video, make sure to subscribe. We post brand new videos every single day, and let us know what stocks you are watching in the comments down below. Besides that, let's have an amazing rest of the week.